Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm here with Rick Ekstein. He's the CEO of Phaze 3 Management. Rick, obviously, we're talking about the Israeli-Gaza conflict after the attacks on October 7th. With the conflict now entering its fourth month, it appears it is becoming the threat of it, and de facto, in actuality, it's becoming more regional, with Iran and its proxies becoming more active. From your observations, having just returned from Israel, do you think this war can be contained?
I don't. I think we are in the midst, or the beginning, I should say, of the start of a third world war. When you look at what's going on with all the proxy fights in the world at the moment, effectively the West is against Russia right now in the Ukraine. You've got Iran backing the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas fighting Israel, which is effectively Iran against the West again. You've got China, who is, their tentacles are reaching into islands in the South China Sea, and the big picture there is Taiwan. We've got North Korea supplying weaponry now to Russia. I really hate to sound scary, but I think we are in the first days of what could turn into a serious world war, let alone a regional conflict. I think the regional will be first. Right now, I think the Americans have been flying top cover to a large degree for what's happening in the north of Israel. They've bombed facilities in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq. But that is not ending. The Houthis, who nobody even knew who a Houthi was a year ago, are firing ballistic missiles at Israel, and they're interrupting, I think it's 10 or 12% of the world's shipping that goes through the Suez Canal. So unless somebody figures out how to take Iran off the table, either politically, diplomatically, or at the end of the day, militarily, I don't see how this is going to stay just as a little conflict between Hamas and Israel. And if we take off Iran, maybe it'll stop things, or maybe it'll just be, again, the next step in what could be a world war.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the North Koreans supplying ammunition to the Russians, but there's evidence that they're also supplying Hamas. So there's a lot of moving parts in this, isn't there?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There was a woman on one of the big networks who was an expert on tunnels, and they showed her the pictures of the tunnels in Gaza, and she said they're identical to tunnels that she has seen in North Korea. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah, no, exactly. Listen, let's just go back to the diplomacy for a second. We talked a little bit about how there's growing pressure on Israel to end the fighting. I just want you to reiterate, though, let's not forget about the hostages. There are still dozens of hostages that are held by Hamas or some of their other agents there, and that should be a part of any ceasefire, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was there. I was in the Hamas. I was in the hostage forum building the night before they were going to release the list of the first hostages, and I was sitting with 14 families, who were all waiting. And one of them was telling me he lost his father, and he's got 7 members of his family held by Hamas. What do you say to people like that? It was a very, very uncomfortable meeting. But since then, they've released about 100 hostages. What is just starting to come out now is the stories of what they were subjected to. Israel at the beginning was trying to keep that quiet, but I heard unbelievable stories, like live one-on-one stories from people who were raped, men and women, up to 50 times. I know of one woman hostage who was released who came back to Israel, and she tried to commit suicide twice afterwards because she couldn't get past what happened to her. So we know there's still about 140 missing Israelis. We know some of them are dead. We know some are alive. God knows what shape they're in, as you said, as we enter the fourth month. And Hamas has a history of holding on to bodies In 2014, you may remember, after the ceasefire went into effect, they popped up out of a tunnel and grabbed a young Israeli soldier named Hadar Golden.
Right.
We believe he's dead because they found cranial matter and they stripped his uniform off in the tunnels. And for the last 9 years, his parents get.
Rick, this is important. We do have to take another brief break.
Sure.
Please continue with that story when we return. We'll be back very
Okay.
shortly.